Today we're going to be talking with Jonathan Rouse. He's with Rouse & Rouse in Versailles, and he is an attorney and has been working with guardianship for quite some time. And our topic today is going to be discussing the required annual reporting for guardians to deliver to the court. So, Jonathan, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
I would be happy to. I'm an attorney and have been for 5 years, and during that time, in my first years, when I got exposed to guardianship in Kentucky, and previous to that, I was a social worker, and I'd had a lot of experience working with children, but not as much working with adults. And as I've developed my career here at Rouse & Rouse, more and more has been focused towards dealing with issues that someone who is in their elder years would deal with, from Alzheimer's dementia or Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis. But key to what I try to do with the people I work with when it comes to guardianship is just to provide as simple an answer as I can for people who are really looking for questions about these reports.
I think our first report usually is an annual report of the guardian that is really talking about the personal affairs of the individual. Can you tell us a little bit about that annual report of the guardian?
When working with clients with this report, with both the periodic settlement and the annual report of guardian, the key is really just to give the court the best picture you can of what's going on with the person that you're guardian over. They want to know two things. They want to know financially what you're doing to protect whatever the ward has, and then personally what is going on with the ward emotionally, with their mental health, physically, occupationally, educationally, and then allow you to be able to express that to them so they have a good picture, and then can, if need be, give guidance as to what else can be done, or just to give the stamp of approval that you're doing what you need to do. With the annual report of guardian, it has some basic questions: the name of the person you're taking care of, where they live, how long they've lived with you, where did they live before. Then they ask the questions which are really the pertinent part to these annual reports, and that is, tell us about what's going on with the ward with their mental health. Have they gotten better than they were last year? Are they improving in some way? Are they deteriorating in some way? Then they ask, how is the ward's physical health? And a lot of times this can be met just by going to the doctor's offices and listening, or hearing what they advise. If the ward has an issue with obesity, or if the ward has an issue with balance or nutrition, any of these things are important to the court and what you would put here. And then underneath the social condition of the ward, they want to know what's going on with the ward. Are they isolating themselves? Are they spending more time with people? Are they more social? Are they spending time in activities out in the community? What kind of things are indicative of the ward having a positive or difficult social status or situation? And really what you want to look towards with this is, what does the court need to know as far as socially what can be improved and what can't be improved, or if they're deteriorating and why. The court wants to know what services are being provided to the ward. Now, these can be formal services such as, therapy or some support group or any other formal intervention that would be helpful to the ward. But it can be simpler than that. It can be the ward goes to youth group. I take the ward to church. I take the ward to scheduled visits with the doctor. Any of these things are very important to the ward, and the court wants to make sure that they're being done. So just because it is a simpler event or simpler intervention does not mean it is less important. Then it also requests that whether or not the guardianship should or should not continue. And this seems kind of odd to some people, when they come to me and they say, well, we just got this guardianship, why are they asking me if it should discontinue? This form is not just meant for the first-time guardian, it's for people who've been doing this for a while. And it could be that the guardian themselves have come to a place that they say, this is where the ward is, and the ward has developed, and if the ward is younger and has developed past the disability or has reached a certain age, this is why this should discontinue.
That could also be for someone, a brain injury, an individual who may improve from a brain injury and no longer needs a guardian.
That's absolutely true. Lastly, it talks about on that page whether or not there's a standby guardian. And this is something that not a lot of people will contemplate, but is strongly advised you consider is if something happens to the guardian, who is there that the court can look to help provide for the ward's needs. So if there is not one, they ask, has there been one appointed? And if there hasn't, I strongly recommend you look at trying to find an alternate just to have as a backup, and then they would be listed on the form there.
So we've got the guardianship report completed. Now we get to the nuts and bolts of the money and the annual settlement or the financial settlement.
And with the money, what we're talking about on the periodical settlement, this really does depend on the assets of the person you're helping manage money for. If it's less than $5,000, the court does not need you to supply a report every year showing that this is what I'm doing with this amount of money. It becomes where it's not effective or efficient for the court system to keep doing reports when there's a lesser amount. If there's less than $5,000, you can request the court to do biannually, only once every 2 years, which a lot of clients would work with me to find out if that's appropriate to request that so that they don't have to go through this every year. However, don't assume that just because it says the $5,000 limit is there, that the court will just automatically let you go every 2 years. You do have to actually ask, but they usually follow the statute and are very reasonable with that. What they're looking for in the periodic settlement is what you as the guardian have for the ward, and then how you use what the ward has for the ward's benefit. So they ask you, what assets does the ward have? Does he have a car? Does he have a bank account? Sometimes the ward will have a brokerage account. Depending on what situation you're dealing with as a guardian, they want to know exactly at the end of the year when you're filing the report, what is there. They want to know when you start the guardianship, what you had. So you will say, he had a bank account that had X. And then at the end of the year, when you file this report, they want to know what you've spent. And so they will ask you, what are the assets? And then what are the disbursements? And then at the bottom, you subtract assets less disbursements. These can be really simple if you're talking about a bank account with $5,000, or it can sometimes be really complicated, in which case what I often recommend is that someone speak with an accountant or an attorney to help them fill out this report.
Okay, absolutely. And then as we move from there, we go to the back page where there's the plan for preserving and maintaining the estate. What do we put in there?
What you're saying is, how are you going to maintain the asset? Well, we're usually talking bank accounts, or we're talking a brokerage account, or an ABLE account. What are you going to do? I'm going to continue to do the same thing I've done before, which is rely on the assistance of the people of the bank by managing. I'm going to maintain this account, or I'm going to rely on this financial advisor, or I'm going to rely on someone who is going to give me guidance as to how to protect this asset. So a simple way of saying this would be, to maintain the estate, I'm going to maintain a bank account that has a low interest amount, and but it's safe and secure for the benefit of the ward. Or if it's more complicated, I'm going to use this brokerage firm. I'm going to use this financial advisor. However you would normally take care of assets is what they want to know. You don't have to make these decisions for yourself. you can look towards the advice of others. As a guardian, you're looking more as a decision maker with the assistance and support of experienced professionals.
I usually add in there the homeowner's insurance on the property if there's real estate, just to assure that we've got it insured.
Absolutely. If there's a home or if there's a vehicle, that would be necessary. It's important that you have a record that you keep track of all of the expenditures on behalf of the person you're taking care of. And with this, what we really advise is that people either use checks, in which you say in the memo line, this is what this is for, or that you keep the bank account statements that will have where different expenses came out, so that you can show to the court this is where the money went. This form is very general, and it is something that is very helpful for people to be able to give a quick glance to the court. If they ever ask for more specific detail, it is good to have those records on hand. And it's part of your fiduciary duty as a guardian.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help, and we'll just wish all of our viewers good luck in getting those reports done. Thank you.
Thank you.